Hello and welcome, my dear scale modelers, to my small hobby YouTube channel. My name is Tomo and today we're going to be taking a look at another scale model. This month is Resin Cast Model Month, so for that occasion I have chosen 3 models for review, and these are 1/24 scale models of very famous cars from Alpha Models. Alpha Scale Models are a Chinese-based company that make highly detailed resin cast models, predominantly in 1/24 scale. These cars are basically luxury fast cars such as Aston Martins, BMWs, Alfa Romeos, Bugatti, Porsche, and so on and so on. You can check out their webpage, it's in the link in the description. They're not a sponsor of this channel, but if they want to be, could you please send me the Alfa Romeo Giulia, please? Before we dive into the box, let's talk a little bit about resin model kits. If you want to skip this part, go right ahead. There's a timestamp in the video timeline, so you can just skip to the various chapters, or go to this video description and click on the various chapters. Go right ahead, I dare ya. In the scale modeling world, you basically have 2 types of materials from which to build your models. One will be styrene plastic, and the other will be resin. These 2 materials are very different from one another, and that shows in the production of a particular model. Whereas the conventional styrene model is made by pushing or extruding the material through the mold, thus taking the shape of the sprue and then the parts within it. Resin cast models are basically poured inside a silicone mold and put usually in a pressure chamber so that it forces all the bubbles out from the material, thus making sure that the cast is perfect, or at least that's what the person who's making the cast hopes for. The reason that I say that he hopes for is because resin is, well, quite difficult to work with. Yes, it does flow in every single nook and cranny of the mold, but it's also very brittle. If you don't design your molds very well, they can easily break off in chunks. That's also true when handling the models once they're complete. Very small details can be easily broken in half without any hesitation, as opposed to styrene plastic, which is very bendable and very soft material, which you can actually shape at will by just heating it up. Because of all of this, resin cast models are low volume models, meaning that they don't produce a lot of them in one batch. Because of their complexity, resin is used for low volume productions, such as, in this case, specialized cars that other manufacturers don't make, or specific resin cast pieces for existing scale models made from styrene, like landing gears or flaps or detailed cockpits or figures, heads, you name it, something that kind of lifts the detail up. And the reason that they lift the detail up is because of the nature of resin. Resin cast models also capture far more detail than plastics can, because they flow into the mold, especially if the mold is well designed and there's no distortion during the curing process. So all the lines of the model are more sharp, more precise, more crisp, and that gives you the feel of realism. Also, resin cast models have a little bit more mass to them than plastics. The other very important difference about resin versus plastics is you really can't use your ordinary Tamiya cement to glue the parts together, because it's resin. It's not going to affect the model in the same way. So to glue the parts together, you usually either use 2-component epoxy or CA glue. In essence, that's basically it. Hope you learned something. Now let's take a look inside the boxes. Hello and welcome if you have just joined me. My name is Tomo and this is an in-box review of the Alpha model BMW M4 in 1/24 scale full resin kit with lots and lots and lots of detail. As you can see, all this resiny goodness is packed in a very small but sturdy cardboard box and wrapped in bubble wrap and lots of very thick plastic bags. And protection is very much welcome in any case. This in particular because resin parts, especially small resin parts, are very fragile in nature. This BMW M4 in 1/24 scale is Alpha Model's newest edition, so it has even more detail than their predecessors. And if by this point you're wondering what predecessors I'm talking about, you can totally check out my last week's video in the link in the description or up above in the cards. Will be popping out right about now. Of course, this ludicrous detail comes at a very high cost. How cost you so? Yes. If you go on Alpha Model's website, the model will cost you $160 plus shipping, tax, and possibly tariffs, depending on where you live. Here in Slovenia, this model will set you back 250 euros. Hot! However, keep in mind that this is a rather unique model that not many scale model builders will tackle. That is because of its complexity and the know-how how to handle resin parts. The previous two models that we have looked at had the bottom plate plain, just flat. This one, however, has quite a lot of detail, and that is quite an impressive achievement in my book. So the car is basically designed from three parts: the body, the cabin, and the bottom plate, and that's basically it. All the rest of the parts are there to enhance the interior of the car. And that is why such meticulous detail is represented in these pieces, such as the seats, the steering wheel, the center console, the instrument panel, brake pads, brake calipers, all the bells and whistles that make up this car. And if you're used to styrene plastic cars, you will immediately notice two main differences between styrene and resin. First of all, it's the weight. The car actually has mass, and quite a significant mass, which makes it feel a little bit more premium. The second, the detail. I know I've been boasting about the detail, but it truly is different, and that is because of the way these resin models are made. Rather than pushing the plastic in the mold, the resin flows inside the mold, thus picking up far more detail on the way, and when it settles, the end result is sharp, and that sharpness actually makes for a more realistic model. Of course, there are drawbacks of making models this way, most notably the volume. These are low volume models that are far more expensive than their plastic counterparts. The other drawback is, of course, clear parts. Here we have an example of headlights and headlight bulbs. While they are transparent and you can see through, they're not as clear and sharp as their plastic counterparts, but nevertheless, they're pretty good. We also get 4 exhaust pipes from aluminium and lots of photo etch parts to further enhance the car's ludicrous detail. The main windows of the car are made from clear acrylic plastic, which is protected with plastic film so you don't get scratches on it. Like I said, photo etch, photo etch, photo etch. This model is definitely not for a beginner, and even a more advanced model builder will have their hands full with this one. Like with the previous two models, the decals are actually very good. They're not as great as cartograph ones, but they are very good. Keep in mind, these are very small decals that have been enlarged by my macro lens so you can have a better look at them. Last but not least, the manual. And by this point, we know that this is basically an A4 type paper, 4-page long manual with various steps to complete the model. It is really just a CAD drawing with lines that tell you where stuff goes. It could be better in the future, and I hope that Alpha Model makes that so. This is the last video of the month, and whatever do I have in store for you next week? Stay tuned to find out. See you soon. Bye.